Alright, I think that's enough soft shred for now. Let's take a look at the connection. Oh my god. We have a good connection. Oh, so I'm just gonna have this on record because we couldn't last time because I had to delete the video. But there's been let me restart this. It's taken months to do this stream. I don't know how long ago it was that we did the first gotcha game stream, but I think the only stream we did after that was the Canada Day, or no, the Canadian election one. Sorry, Canada Day's on Tuesday. I'm mixing those two up. But anyways, Canadian election stream. And we tried it last weekend. I couldn't get a connection to work. I was advised that the stream looked like it was a slideshow. So that wasn't going to work. And then the internet went out anyway. So obviously there was a connection issue. OBS problems. It's out the roof. It's taken weeks of like more effort than I've ever wanted to put in just so I can stream what is functionally just anime titties in a game. But here we are. I'm obligated to finish this no matter what. So I'm happy we can get to this stage. That's all I'm gonna say. Now the internet's working. We have a connection. Today we're supposed to be a double stream. I'll be honest with you, I'm very I'm very I'm very hungover. I was out till about 6 a.m. last night. And I'm alive. And yeah, I don't know how I'm alive. But while in agony at 4 o'clock, when I realized I was already a half hour late for this particular stream, because this is supposed to be the first of the two, I was like, I had not an epiphany, but while I was lying there, my wrist shot from being a dog shit bowler. Like both my wrists hurt because I tried to ambidextrously bowl and just pulled everything possible. Like I'm in pain right now, and my migraine, fucking everything going at like 4 p.m. And I was like, you know what? I gotta like reattribute my I gotta take a step back and I gotta kind of reanalyze how I stream, because obviously, like, it's not like I don't have a schedule. I don't have like hundreds of viewers. I don't have anything, but like it's fun to do. I do enjoy doing it ultimately, as much as I'm happy to fucking skip doing it. But like, I figure I got to take a step back and kind of like, even if it's just a hobby, I'm gonna like try to reevaluate my presence online. I haven't done any like YouTube post or not YouTube posts, sorry, Instagram posts beyond I think since Indy 500. So it's been like almost 2 months for that too. But anyways, I'm gonna pop his in. There we go. I got a nicotine out. We gotta get nicked up. So last weekend we had 2 games, because ultimately the goal behind this whole gotcha games thing was I had 4 games that I played on the regular. We played Arc Knights and we played Goddess Victor and Ike last time. I think in April. I don't fucking remember. March or April. Hopefully it was April. And I feel less bad about delaying this as much as we did, even though it's still bad. And then the other 2 that I played are what are going to be featured today, which is Azur Lane and Girls Frontline 2 Exilium. I don't know. I've never heard anyone say it in English. So it's just gibberish that you put at the end, you know what I mean? Scholar of the First Sin style. You throw it at the end of your game, kind of like that, right? But anyway. Sorry, sir. You know what? Not Brown Dust 2. We'll maybe get into Brown Dust 2 eventually, because obviously there's more gacha games to play. I've dabbled in things like Heaven Burns Red. I'm not going to play Blue Archive on stream, and I also hate how fucking I can't get anything I want in that fucking game, even though I've only put like a limited amount of time in. So we're not playing that either. But I kind of want to play the Wizardry gacha game on here at some point too, as Boomer. I'm old enough that I can say I can play Wizardry. If they did a Might and Magic gacha game, it'd be cool too. But I think Wizardry was only one of those 2 that make it big in Japan, quote unquote. So whatever. But as of Thursday, technically Wednesday around 10 p.m. In Eastern time, which time zone we're in right now. Musume Pretty Derby came out, so we're gonna jump into that too. For the most part, I haven't played any of these games today. I did accidentally start up Musume, so like, no, I didn't do anything in the game, but like the daily login bonuses are already gotted. So I'm just being upfront that like we're jumping into these blind for the day. So let me fight with my computer for a moment here because what's the so Musume and Girls Frontline both have dedicated fucking like PC clients. There is a Steam version of Girls Frontline coming out eventually, but it's on like a different client or something like that than the dedicated client and the mobile version of the game. So it's like there's two publishers for it, even in global. Something confusing like that. But like right now, my purchases in progress can carry over between the mobile version and the non-mobile version, the PC version. But if I opt for the Steam version, that's not the case. It's two different versions of the game. Now, Musume is fine too. Like linking it up was a pain in the ass. Very like reminds me of the fucking the slime gacha game with how much of a pain it was to actually do anything with it. Anyways, so we're gonna mute the song. We're gonna put audio on our fucking. There's no for now. My point to that is there's no actual like full PC client for. Oh yeah, we're not showing on the screen here. Hold on. For Azur Lane, we're going to be using BlueStacks, which is a Android emulator. So we're essentially playing the mobile version of the game for the most part. BlueStacks is pretty handy. There we go. You know, you can see my background, which is obviously Azur Lane theme because I'm a fucking loser. But anyways, so this is the UI. We got this far. If you, not that you know, from my perspective, this is about as far as we got in the game, whilst I was complaining about how the connection kept dropping to 0. So this is our live 2D menu. You can, we'll play around the UI a little bit first. This is our menu for our progress. You can see my 92.4% collection rate. Now, this is something I like to brag about. I think my lowest collection rate is now Musume, but for the most part, it is it's I think it's Arknights. I think Arknights I'm sitting at like 80%. And that's because it's like I don't want to say it's not generous, but it's hard to kind of like you need more currency per roll, I find in Arknights and other games. Here it's like you use these cubes. We'll go to the build screen anyway because we've got to build. You get like a trillion of these. Like this is like a bad day for me is having 340 cubes. And it also ties into your gold, and gold is like your two resources are oil, gold, and then gems are your paid currency, so you would use that to buy skins and shit. And then we go collect our cube here because we haven't logged in today. You see, we didn't collect anything. But yeah, oil is your. I guess how do I describe oil? It is your generic gacha game sort of paywall fuel. So you need, in order to actually play things outside of one game mode, which we'll touch on, everything costs oil. You can go to your little, where's the word I'm looking for here? This little side menu here. So you have like a canteen, munitions that generate oil per day. I'm full. I'm actually above our cap right now because I have oil's not a concern for me. I'll explain that a little bit further too. Gold is one of those resources I find that kind of hampers things because you need to spend that on everything. You want to upgrade, you want to max limit break characters, cost gold. You want to fucking build like what I'll explain it to you. The gear screen. You build special gear and stuff like that. Sorry, the audio is fucking me up. I need to get away from John Bart for a sec here. Her yapping is killing me. You want to, everything costs gold is all I'm trying to say here, and everything costs a lot of gold. Rolls cost gold. The event like for this particular event, every roll costs 2 cubes and 1,500 gold, so it's 15,000 gold in order to do a 10 roll, for example. This is our little daily screen here. So you have dailies, weeklies, side missions. Side missions are kind of like the little story events for certain characters that you have to do tasks for. For the most part, I've got a bunch of them done, and most of them I'm just waiting for like either maxing at the level or affinity. Dailies for the most part are pretty straightforward. Yeah, like build a ship, 3 victories, restock stacks in the dorm, which I'll show you. I'll show you the challenge, hard mode. I'm in charge of a guild. I got kind of forcibly elected to be in charge of the guild. And by forced to be elected is I think the guild leader left or he like timed out because he hadn't logged in I think a year. And I was the next. You have like a contribution score, and I had the highest contribution score because I played as daily. So I was obligated exercising commissions. Now, one thing I guess I was going to talk about last weekend is exercises is sort of the thing that kind of like, this is the PvP mode. And we'll do that first just so I can kind of, because I'm on the point of it. You go to battle, and then you go to exercise. And this is the PvP screen here. So, we're at the tail end of the season. So I'm not really too hung up on it now. But last weekend was the start of the season. Usually goes for 2 weeks. And you get this, for completing missions, you get like a currency for it. And that currency is sort of important. And it's dependent on your rank and you basically doing your daily exercises. So here it shows 10 out of 10. But at 3 points during the day, so 3 p.m. when that day resets, I think 2 p.m. and then again at 9 o'clock in 10 minutes, that's when you get, it refreshes an additional 5 exercise currency. And you can only hold 10. So if you're not doing your exercises, you basically miss out on 5 attempts to actually to do this. But again, like, I'm not really too upset about it right now. So we're just going to do one. It's very hands-off. It's like auto plays. You're going to see some of the loading screens in this game are probably like the horniest part. Except for the live 2D skin for the most characters. And the loading screens are. When I started playing this game, for the most part, like the first event that I fully participated in was that's that. That's literally just like it auto plays. Whoever has the best main and vanguard automatically gets through. So there we go. We did our daily exercise. It's pretty straightforward. So it's best way I can describe the actual gameplay portion of the game is it's sort of like a RPG mixed with like a horizontal scrolling shooter. And I've mentioned it before. I'm a big like shmup guy. I like my scrolling shooters. I prefer horizontal scrolling shooters. Now, there's not much shooting or horizontal. A lot of horizontal scrolling, not a lot of shooting. At least that you have control over. You can manually play the game, but yeah, for the most part, right? Like it's like you're gonna like. There's not really an advantage to playing manual outside of like certain event, like they call them like challenge events, and that's only because you can control where the fleet moves and you're trying to dodge, you're trying to survive as long as you can. But for the most part, yeah. So you have 2 rows. You have your main fleet in the back, and then you have your vanguard in the front. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Like it's very easy to explain that. So your main fleet is made up of battleships and aircraft carriers, because remember they're boats. And then your heavy cruisers, light cruisers, destroyers all make up the vanguard. So you have 3 and 3. This little tab here, they're called I forget what they call them. They're little cats. They're little cat dudes you can get and level up and stuff like that too. And they give you different bonuses depending on the faction and the class of your ships and stuff like that too. So, like, some of them are, like, anti-submarine, and you have a submarine fleet, too, as well, too. Let me scroll over to that. That's not a submarine fleet. So, you have 3 submarines that you can kind of build per fleet. And they'll show up in the match and just, like, fire torpedoes and use their special abilities and shit like that. And then, here's the dock. We have a lot of boats. We have no shortage of boats because we have 92% completion. Now, there are a lot of collaboration ships. It is to my understanding that collaboration ships do not count towards that completion total. So you can kind of, right now it's sorted by level. It's not favorited, so we'll favorite it as well too. And then you can sort by like faction and stuff like that. So obviously they have their own silly names because this is a work of fiction made by the Chinese. But like, you have the U.S. Navy, Royal Navy is England, Secure Empire is Japan, Nazi Germany, China. It doesn't really touch too much on like the history of China during World War II, because China was, if you're familiar with the Chinese history in World War II, portions of it were occupied by Japan. So there were puppet states there, and the rest of it, what they refer to as like bandit states. So it was very much split into different factions controlled by different kind of like competing interests. One of them was the Kuomintang, which is what makes up the the Republic of China, right? Which, depending on your value system, does or doesn't exist. Now exists on the island of Taipei. And then the other one is obviously like the Communist China, which is now People's Republic of China, which occupies the mainland. Sardinian Empire is Fascist Italy, Soviet Union, and then there's two France. Now, lore-wise, they're considered to be one France again, but Ars Libre is Free France. Vichy Dominion is Vichy France, which was the one that was kind of like a collaborated with Nazi Germany. And then obviously Free France was occupied by Nazi Germany. Very convoluted history of France during World War II. And it plays a lot on that in the lore and stuff like that too, which is your typical gacha game lore of like overly convoluted, plays on like the World War II aspect and kind of like the intermingling of factions, but it's kind of gone well beyond that, and there's now like all parallel timelines and alien invaders and shit like that. So it's like, it's goofy, but I read it because I'm an idiot. Talupia is the newest faction in the game and is the Netherlands, and they are all elves. But there's only two of them right now, so let's just narrow it down. So there's two. So they all have elf ears. It's pretty fun. Oh, I gotta go back. Doc. They added an update to the music, so you can like play certain playlists, but for some reason it doesn't want to play. Like it'll like play like 3 songs and cut out. So that's why it's quiet right now. I'll try to fix that in a sec. Now Meta is a lore specific faction. So these are all existing characters in the game, but they have their own like meta version of them. And that's like one from like they're essentially like refugees from like a failed timeline. So like there's a timeline where like you as the player character don't exist or dies or whatever, and aliens invade, and then they kind of like they get like an infection or something like that. They call it metamorphosis. It's convoluted as fuck. Tempesta is the pirate ship faction. So these only happen during Halloween, but they're pirate ships. These usually slot into most of them slot into your submarine slot, and then they're just like cover the map in cannonballs. We'll show some of that later. I'll play around with the formation. And then I keep backing out of it. Fuck. And then the last one is miscellaneous. And the miscellaneous is all of the collaboration factions. So we got at the top here is Senran Kagura. We got Blackrock Shooter, which is Miku. It's Miku. It's literally Miku, okay? We get over that. We got like the Ryza ones. Dead or Alive, Venusfication. What the fuck is the other one called? I forget what it's called. Anyways, I'll be able to figure it out here. Hold on. That's Dead or Alive again. Oop. Sorry, I'm backing out here. You are... Does it show faction? Archive. No, it doesn't. All I remember, it's the one that has the 2 parts. My brain's not working right now, okay? Leave me alone. I'm very I swear to God. I'm cooked. Anyways, so you have your fleets. You build your fleets. You go around. You fight other boats. There's a little mini map. We'll go through that. I'm losing train of thought here. Maybe being hungover was a terrible idea for this. Maybe the monster will help. We got events going on right now. The current event is this one called Neon City Investigator. So not every event, there music's playing again, ties into the main story. Obviously, So this one, the setting of the event is it's supposed to be you're filming a hard-boiled detective film at the ports, and then obviously all of like the skins you can buy for it are kind of like vaguely themed in that direction. I would say in the last year, everything has been getting more like explicit. So like they're like other games, they're kind of just going all in on the Gooner game kind of energy, which is fine. Like I'll be honest with you, like I'm not criticizing it. Some people it might turn off some people, but fuck them, right? That's all that matters. And you have daily missions that tie into this. So like this down here is you gotta like complete a certain number of the hard one, and you can build like a specific fleet for it. There are challenges to like completing a run without having any aircraft carriers or no destroyers and stuff like that. And then you get this like dumb event currency, the movie tickets for it. Normally you can buy other ships with the event currency, or you can buy like upgrade materials, you can buy oil, you can buy coins. But for the most part, this is like considered a minor event, so it only has like 3 ships that are tied into it, which I can show you here. Hold on. So, because I already have all of them because I don't fuck around. So, anyways, we'll play around to that, but first we'll do our obligatory 10 roll because I can afford one. Now, it normally times out, so you have to do like 2 at a time. You can sort of tell what class and what you're expecting the boat to be based on the length of it. But however, if you look here, there's like 3 pools, and then there's the event pool. Now, the event pool always ties into one of these pools. For the most part, it ends up being special, so you get a lot of like aircraft carriers, shit like that. But this one's specifically tied into the heavy pool, so it's going to be all like battleships. For the most part, it's all battleship. Battleships are like heavy cruisers and stuff like that. So stuff like mostly backliners. Whereas like, yeah, light is generally going to be like light cruisers, mostly destroyers, and then special is usually going to be like submarines, aircraft carriers. There are some in here that are like you can upgrade them to be a dual use. So they have like, they're battleship, but they can launch planes. So they have like a dual role. But for the most part, but we have these quick finishers up here, which I have a trillion of those. So we're going to spend those. We're going to get a 10 roll. So this is a good thing. We got a super rare character I have. And it's going to be a lot of rares. So we're going to just click through it. 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 So realistically, we got nothing. Now, and that's fine for the most part. Prince Eugen's a character that's sort of like not a main character in the series, but like she's been around since launch. So like we're well past having her max limit broken. So for the most part, we can just wipe everything out here. Get coins and medals for it. We can recycle the weapons because we don't need any of those. And then this is our like our surplus of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, ultimately it's a gacha game. It has a lot. It's a gacha game that's like this year. It's the 8th anniversary for the global version in a couple months. So this is a gacha game that's almost been around for a decade in Japan at the very least, because their 9th is like a month afterwards. So it's gonna have a lot of those trends that like were I feel like subsequent games. Like the ones we played, like Arknights, I feel like isn't as bad when it comes to the gacha stuff. Same with Nikkei, stuff like that. Like I feel like there's sort of ways around a lot of the more, I don't want to call them greedy, but more kind of like dated aspects of it. And we're not going to spend too much time here. We're gonna get a bulk of the dailies done, I think. We did our exercise, we did our ship build, we built our 3 ships for the event currency. And then these are the 2 event ones thing here too. One thing they've added recently is you get medals in the game, and you can kind of see the medals when you go into your profile. So I got a bunch of them up here. And your medals are you finished an event, or you oathed a certain number of characters and stuff like that. And that's something I guess we can briefly touch on as well here too, is that you can spend money or wait till event anniversary time to marry your ships, and they get stat boosts and stuff like that. Their affinity goes up to 200. There's a little wedding scene. I don't have the currency or a ring handy to do that, but that's usually a good thing. And then a lot of characters get like a wedding dress skin that you can get for it as well too. So there is like Musashi, for example, here is a character that has a lot of skins. Some of them are like, you can see when it labels like the live 2D, stuff like that. There was a trend once their little dialogue box is away here, we'll point it out. But there was a trend where there was a lot of like wedding dresses with just bare ass windows, as you can see here now. You can see where my mouse is high. And I'd started with New Jersey, I believe. Where is she on here? Because she's oath too. There she is. She's in a different skin. But she has a, yeah, that was like the first one that had, hold on, fucking get rid of the dialogue box. Whatever. Anyways, that's all I need to explain about that. Anyway, so you can marry them. They get stat boosts. They track that as well too. So there's like during anniversary time, there's like a summary of like most oath boats and stuff like that. And that does play into what boats do get oath skins in the future. And it's also cheaper. Like it's 600 of the gems here, the little gem currency to get an oath skin. Whereas if you go into the shop and you go into skins, it varies, right? Like this one's a live TD, as you can see by the animation. It's 1200, so it's twice as much as an oath. Some of the static ones start at around like 880, stuff like that. 880. They all kind of, and then older ones will be around like, once they get like permanently added into the shop, they end up being around 700. I'm just kicking a lot of shit around under my desk here right now. I'll be honest with you, I tested the only thing I preset that wasn't like 20 minutes before it started was the just to make sure the connection was good. Everything's a bit of a clusterfuck around here right now. And this little alert here that's beating in the corner, you have your little in-game Instagram thing. So certain characters you get little chat boxes with. Some of them they get like different chat topics when they hit when you hit max affinity with them. And then here they have like, they do this for every anniversary as well too. They'll do like a funny post, and then there'll be comments and shit like that. And they post this on the actual Instagram as well too. So it's just like, that's a thing that all the gacha games have, is like that. I don't know who does it specifically, but like those silly chibi comics kind of like that, right? So they're fun, but it's pretty straightforward. Anyways, we're not going to spend too much time with Azur Lane, but like I said, everything for the most part costs oil. So doing an event costs oil. Going in to play the campaign and grinding costs oil. But you have this thing in the corner here called Operation Siren. Now, Operation Siren is sort of like I won't call it a roguelike. One, because I don't like using that word, and two, it even by like the modern definition of it, I don't think it really applies. But every month it resets. So you have like a map of the Atlantic Ocean here, split into different zones. There's like certain key locations, like you got Liverpool, New York over here, NY City as they call it in universe, stuff like that. And then these are the blue ones are your little bases. This is a little bit earlier in the lore, so the red ones are going to be like Axis Powers location, like Brest in France, Kiel in Germany. Over here is, I think, yeah, Toronto, which is Italy, stuff like that. So you can go there. There's like missions that will pop up there, but like you're not allowed to use them. So like you can't repair your ships, you can't do daily missions, stuff like that there. And then you have like a little mini map that you play, and then this ties into another mode called Meta Showdown, which I'll click on that as well too. And we'll just launch this because I don't want to time out. But Meta Showdown is every 3 months. They add like a certain meta character in the game. It's like we have like a regular Kabakazi. This is the meta version of her. And this is the only way you can unlock them, is by you collect a certain number of these blue terminals every time you play around in this mode. So like, where we'll go back to the little mini map here. So if you complete challenges, you collect like chests, for example, just pick one up. You get like these coordinators, right? And you need to do that in order to actually like fight them, and then you get a certain number of points towards unlocking them and upgrade materials and stuff like that for them. So what we'll do is we'll do a run of this hard mode one, so you can kind of see what's going on here. So yeah, like I said, you can set up your fleet. This one isn't tied to your regular formation. You can kind of custom build it. So we'll stick with what we got going on here, because right now what I'm doing is I'm farming affinity for these characters. So these are all higher level characters, which I don't use quite frequently. So the affinity's tied into that. So what we're seeing here, obviously, like I said, it looks like a vertical shmup, or sorry, horizontal shmup. Down here, this just means the submarine's activated. This bar, obviously, you can see it kind of like charging up. From right to left, we have battleship. This is the torpedoes on your Vanguard, and then this is the aircraft carrier launching and stuff like that. So it looks, it's kind of got like a bullet hell aesthetic to it, obviously, because you can tell by the absolute clusterfuck of what's going on the screen. And for certain bosses, especially if you're doing like the meta one, like we saw earlier, it will slow the game down because it just fucking turns into like a neon mess, is really what it comes down to. And this user interface here, this is customizable as now too, so they do give away free ones to change it. You can pay for certain ones as well too. This is a free one, I'm pretty sure. But they've like over the years, they've done a good job of kind of like adding quality of life things into it and like little customization features and shit. The last thing I'll show you is like a fairly big addition to the game that came, I want to say it's just been under a year, and that's the what we'll call the 3D dorm. And then that'll be a nice kind of little tangent to get over into Girls Frontline, because I feel like that's another game that I feel like it was made sort of to kind of, not to cash in on Girls Frontline, for example, but it was made to sort of like tie into it in a very loose way, to be like, oh yeah, we also have this, we have 3D dorm at home, kind of like that, right? So we'll run through this. We'll let the bosses get nuked, and then we'll collect their currency, and then bada boom, bada bing, we'll do the 3D dorm, and then we'll move on. Because we have 3 games this time, so I don't want it to be like last time where we spent like 2 hours on Arknights, because I felt like that was a bit excessive. So we'll get our half hour out of this. Half hour, 35 minutes, and then we'll move on. Anyways, compared to other games we've shown and other games we're gonna show, I would say like I said, like there is sort of a bit of a dated aspect to Azur Lane, but I like playing it. You know, like it doesn't feel like a chore logging into it every day. Never really has. I like the characters, I like the universe, so I will continue playing it for the foreseeable future. For the most part, like I said, like everything you can sort of autoplay for the most part, which is like what we're doing right now. It just takes a lot of you setting up your gear and setting up, you know, your formations and stuff like that. Because the main story, I'm kind of like walled because like I have to like micromanage a lot of bullshit. But I've been playing this for close to 4 years now. 3 or 4 years, either close to 3 or close to 4. I put a lot of time and energy into it either way. But like for the most part, I would say like if you were ever interested in getting into it, it's like a lot of the older boats are pretty easy to get a hold of and stuff like that too. Even those like meta ships and stuff like that, like there are ways to get them if you're just getting into the game. So for the most part, you know, if you get into it now, you're playing, you know, a lot of the content's still there if you want to experience it, especially the story stuff. And you're not like you're playing the best version of the game, so you're playing it with a lot of more of like the optimizations and quality of life improvements that they added to it, which is nice. And you're not missing out on skins, you're not missing out on whatever, right? Stuff like that too. Like I can go into from this venue here, they have this thing called like the War Archives. And this is where they have a lot of like the older ships. So like a lot of the drop exclusive ships you can get by playing it. A lot of the ones that show 0 are because like I played it. I was there during either the rerun or the what you call it. This is like a pretty common thing too. Like Nikkei has it as well too, so you're not missing on a lot of stuff. Even from your like main menu here, where is it? It's under events. You have these like permanent events, they call them. So a lot of like the little fun little side story ones that will have like an exclusive costume, you can still do that as well too. Like you can only get the costume once. So again, a lot of these I either have I either was there for it or I did the permanent event for it, so it's all good. But lastly, the last thing I wanted to show you. So the original dorm was this thing here, which is you can customize it. There is like a use to this in that like when you use your boats, they have a morale score at the top here, and that affects how much affinity they get, how fast they level up and stuff like that. And when it drops below a certain point, I believe 70, that's when everything gets halved. And then if it drops below 50, that's when you start losing affinity, which is like a very difficult thing to do. Like you got to be really just grinding. But for the most part, yeah, you can like dock your ships here. You can, you know, drag the shibbies around and get their little funny animations and shit like that. You can customize it. Like you can go move and like drag shit around and do stuff like that. And then there's 2 floors. You have to unlock the second floor, but that's how you can. It's good to have it. That way you can like have up to 6 people resting at one time and stuff like that as well too. Barely straight, like I said, very straightforward. Like not a lot of depth to it. But one thing they did add, and this I said, like this will tie in a little bit into our next game. Now this works better on my phone than it does whatever it is, whatever the emulator is. BlueStacks. But they have this 3D dorm, is what they call it. And there's 4 characters you can have unlocked into it. So there's 2 Eagle Union ships. There's New Jersey and Anchorage. One English ship and then 1 Japanese ship. So basically you just click on one of them, it loads. Hopefully it loads properly on BlueStacks. This is like the most like resource part of the game. Because it's a 3D dorm. Yeah, it's taking its time, but it's working. Alright, cool. So you got the 3D dorm, you can play, you can move, it's hard to do on the mouse versus your finger, but you can drag around and explore. You can zoom. All of these areas you can kind of customize for the most part, and there are like different things you can interact with. Let me turn, damn it. And then you can also like, there's a shop that's tied to it as well too. And you can buy different like accessories and fucking you can like this table here for example with the what do they call that again? Katsu something, I forget, whatever it is. The fucking table. Is this where the best girls go? Yes and no. Technically, if we go back, so 3 of the 4 of them I will say are probably considered to be among the fan favorites. The one that they added as the second one, or no, hold on, let's go back. So the order they came in was this one here. I forget her name already. Sirius. So this is one of the English boats, and for the most part, you will notice that like all the carriers, so all of like the town and town class and a lot of the class, they're all maids. So Sirius is a maid. She's a Dido class ship is what they refer to her as. And you can like interact with them and stuff like that, so you can talk to them. And then you have to do this talk to them 3 times, at least 3 times a week. And then there are resources that you get for that you can like level up their you can level up their, you give them gifts and shit like that, you can level them up. I have a lot of the gifts, and then there's obviously like a affinity meter as well to that, and that unlocks if you go to the collection, unlocks like little like side stories and stuff like that. Most of hers, I will admit that they are not very terms of service friendly, though they're not explicitly horny. Actually, none of them are terms of service friendly. I'll be fucking straight up with you here. But anyways, they're adding more content to it. There's a beach. And then you can bring characters to the beach. So all 3 of these characters do have like a swimsuit. And then New Jersey has a cafe, which I haven't unlocked yet. But she has a bunny suit for it. And so then the next batch of characters, I guess, are going to be cafe related. And then they'll keep adding more and more and more, whatever, until and this game inevitably gets sunset. But I have no idea because it still makes a fucking shit ton of money, believe it or not. So I don't think there's really any incentive for them to kind of like drop the game. Just like how like when they got rid of Girls Frontline in China, it was like a temporary thing. Like they brought the game back and they're still adding content to it and whatnot. So for the most part, that's Azur Lane. Like you said, it's pretty. I don't want to say it's basic, but it is a little bit less convoluted. Like there's a little bit more dated compared to other games that we played and other games we're going to be kind of showing when we get here. So, and this is another one of the characters from the Not Hatsune Miku event. So let's just jump back here quickly for a sec while I set everything else up. So we'll close down BlueStacks and I will chat with you for a sec here. So that's Azur Lane. Like I said, it has a lot of the old tropes or design things of like older games and stuff like that as well too. Very through and through a gacha game, really is what it is. Whereas I feel like things like Arknights and Nikkei, I don't want to say like the gacha is secondary, but it's one of those things where it's not the core of the. It's not like there's a complete experience that really you could the gacha supplements in a way, I guess is really what I want to describe that as. But like, you know, that's where they make the money, is they make the money off you buying rolls, which I don't really do because a lot of these games are fairly generous, and you buying skins, which I do because even though I'm 34, I am also the horniest idiot alive. So, you know, I can't control myself. Let's be honest here. That is something I'm not necessarily proud to admit, but it is what it is. So that's just how we're going to frame it. So let me launch Girls Frontline. Now, what's cool about Girls Frontline 2 compared to the first Girls Frontline is that the first Girls Frontline is not a fun game. Which is not, it's the gameplay loop of it sucks. And I don't care what anyone thinks, but the gameplay sucks. The story's cool, but you have to play the game in order to actually experience the story. Whereas the best way I'm going to describe Girls Frontline 2 to you, while I boot it up here, hold on, I think we can switch back to it. There we go. There we go. So we'll log in, get our daily login bonus. But what I can say about Girls 2 is that it's a fun game. If you like, the best way I can describe it is it's XCOM for foot fetishes. So we'll talk a little bit about that here. Hold on, I gotta collect my my gold. And then we'll talk about a little bit about Girls Frontline here too. Now, I don't know how many rolls I'm going to do on this because we're kind of like in the middle of, we're at the very tail end of an event here. Like it says 10 days, but it ends on like Tuesday. So we're done. Event's done. We're not going to show much of the event. We'll do a couple of actual like gameplay loop portions of it because that's actually, you know, you can actually play it compared to something like Azur Lane. Like I said, it plays a little bit like XCOM. The dailies are pretty straightforward to get through in this one, which is nice. Because you can kind of just hammer through the story mode in one sitting. And then you just got to do all your daily shit. And for the most part, your dailies are interacting with the doll. And then for me, it's this platoon section here. So you're tied in, you have a platoon. All these games have them, guild, platoon, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This is where like most of your resource farming comes from for the most part. Also in the shop, you get like these neural archives are essentially how you max level break your character. Papasha, the only way to do it is if you have to buy your 5 weekly every fucking time you log into your your guild for the beginning of the week. They have this event called like Gunsmoke Frontline, which is closed, but it's essentially just kind of like a boss battle where you try to get as high of a score as you can. That one I always auto just because I feel like it's a bit more time consuming. But again, it is pretty straightforward. And then your essential tasks are kind of like a rotating battle. Now, for the most part, which I'll kind of go through. We'll do one of these quickly. And as you can see here, everyone is maxed out level-wise for the most part, except for like a handful of characters. Most of them are going to be the higher rarity of the two, but we'll elaborate on it in a little bit. But this is sort of my 1-5 squad that can like just hammer through every one of these. So let's start here. And then what we'll do is... So, how it's set up on the map here, this little, like, AoE just means that these characters haven't noticed you yet. So they're not going to take a turn. So, like, on the enemy turn, until, like, a character's landed in this little spot here, or have interacted with one of the characters in this kind of, like, AoE thing, they're just not going to move. But it doesn't matter. We're going to hammer through this as fast as we can anyway. Hold on. Move here. Nope. Move here. And then we're just going to fry these two guys. So that every character has like special ability, has an animation tied to it as well too. And then she gets a move afterwards as well too. So we can, for the most part, like there's no one here that's actually going to kill anybody. So I don't want to say cover is irrelevant, but cover is irrelevant on this particular map. Much like XCOM, much like really any other like tactical like turn-based shooter like this, like elevation of the, like obviously like this box here has a higher cover level than like something like that's like a half cover, for example, stuff like that. Like those are all things that you want to pay attention to for the most part, and then enemies will pay attention to as well too. Yeah, it's a little less like I said, because it's a gacha game and because it's reliant more on like special abilities and like elemental stuff, like elemental skills and stuff like that. I don't want to say it's like less tactical than something like XCOM, but like in my experience, like I feel like it's like it doesn't stress me out like XCOM does. And then these are guys that will show up on our next playable turn here as well too. So. Alright, she's done. Musume up here. Drink our monster. And these guys will take a turn, and then we'll be good to go. So, Sumi's one of the more broken characters in the game. Because she has this ability, this is her special ability, the Snowfield Radiance. So it's an AoE attack, and then what it does is it will give everyone like a shield, and you also heal if you have the shield up as well too. So now everything is fucking irrelevant. So they have to break the shield in order to do any actual damage to you, and then all the damage that she received, and then that Klukai over here is going to receive, doesn't matter. And then we're just going to basically just AoE the guys to the rest of the game. And then, so she does like corruption damage. So she's essentially like a poison character for the most part. So that grenade is fucking busted. And yeah, you're good. I have all the broken characters because I also have 100% of the characters in the game. So, which we will go over to in a sec here. So, who else can we move? Just Diane, okay. Kill him, and then we just finish it up on our last round. And then we're good to go. And then our one daily's done for the most part. And he's also getting corruption damage as well too, so he's fucking cooked here. And then we're done. Huzzah. So that's like your normal gameplay loop for Girls Frontline for the most part. Like I said, like until you've got like right characters and like have everybody maxed out. The daily patrols are kind of difficult, even if you're auto playing them. But that's really not like I said. I just like fucking flew through that like it was nothing. So another daily thing you got to do with these dispatches, you got to do log in for 5 days for them. It takes about 20 hours for them to complete, and then you do get resources from this. We'll talk about the resources in a little bit. Intelligence is your daily handicap. Like I said, like all most gacha games have for the most part, and you need that for in order to really do most anything beyond what we were doing right there for your guild stuff. These are your main currencies. So analysis blueprint is for upgrading guns. Combat report is for upgrading dolls, and then gold is for like everything else that costs money for the most part. I find that I go through mostly, I have like an insane amount of everything stockpile, but I find that I mostly go through these. So for this like resource production side of the game, I end up, I find I use the gun upgrade a little bit more. This is the dispatch assessments. This is the easiest way to see how many characters you have. So I have all 28 dolls right now. There are 2 more coming next week. Springfield and Perry, I believe, is the other one. So I will have no issue getting those. And part of the reason is because I have a lot of the gambling currency saved up and have not dipped under a certain number. But you're upgrading this little portion of the dormitory. So like upgrading, getting you more like opportunities to dispatch and stuff like that is tied into the dorm side of things and upgrading your affinity with characters, and we'll touch on that in a little bit as well too. But like there's a lot of stuff to do in game, which is kind of nice. Come back here to go into the dormitory afterwards. So refitting room is where you upgrade everybody, so you can change weapons, you can swap around these I forget what they call these keys, that's what they call them. And these give like stat boosts. The common keys are the ones that are sort of universal for all characters. And then these fixed keys are specific to characters. And to unlock those common keys, you can get them from events. You can get them from playing through like the story events as well too. Fortification is like your limit break. And you can upgrade different abilities and stuff like that through that. Somi is like technically a limited character right now. So I don't have her limit very much. I haven't rolled on her more than once, but like Tololo, for example, here we got 3 max limit breaks. Sabrina, we've maxed her out, I'm pretty sure. Yep, so she's like fully limit broken. Neural Helix is you can spend certain resources to unlock stat boosts, and then this is where you can unlock your fixed keys, and then you can kind of play around with those and give them different like stat boosts and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. So there is a lot of customization in the game. Same with the guns. You can get guns that are specific to. No, Somi hasn't been power crept yet. She may be in the Chinese mode, but she's still like the most like. She's busted. She's there like that lineup you saw there, like Somi, Somi, who else was it? Klukai, and then who's the fucking fire one again? What's her name? What do they call her in this? There she is. Vector. That's like the holy trinity of just fucking like autoplay AoE damage bullshit. And then it's kind of like, then you can throw in whatever other characters you want, right? So and then that covers and like I'll throw in Macchiato or Wawa if you fucking played the old game, because like she supplements doing like ice damage to Somi, and then she is also just fucking overpowered as shit too. And then her special ability lets her like attack enemies on you get alerts, and alert like for most enemies, I think cloaked enemies and certain boss enemies, if they move in within her range, she'll shoot at them, kind of like that too, which is kind of fucking handy to have. Hold on, we gotta put Colfiend's special key on her. because we are caffeine pilled individuals here. So that's the refitting room. And campaign, we're obviously maxed out on that. I just got to finish the last hard mode version of it. Even in China right now, it's capped out at 8. There's no more than 8 story chapters. However, there are story events. The Klukai one that happened, and then one other one, are considered to be chapters 9 and 10. So, if they add, I don't know if they're going to like add them onto here, or what they're going to do, if they're going to show up in this little past events tab soon. Game's only been out since like end of December, so there's still a lot of content to come global, and they've kind of like the global version of the game is admittedly the most optimized version of the game as well too, as far as like what content's been coming out when, and what story mode things they've been uploading. So this is sort of the optimized version of the game. So the Chinese version is sort of the testing ground, and then we get like a more streamlined experience, I guess is what we'll call it for the most part. Supply missions, where you spend your lovely intelligence. So doing these, this is where you basically you can farm heartful items, or what you would have to give to your dolls in the dormitory, and then you get things like this one. You get the combat reports on equipment analysis. You get weapon reports. These stock bars are what you need in order to upgrade. You level up your character. So every first 20 levels and every 10 subsequent level, you get walled essentially, and then you got to spend a certain amount of gold and a certain amount of these stock bars. We ain't playing this shit, so we're just gonna do, we're gonna do 100. We're gonna autoplay it, and this also makes your dailies a lot more easy, which is nice. So we're good for, I think Springfield's the one that comes out first. So we're good for Springfield come fucking Tuesday, I think is when it is. And then this is another place, so there's a lot of different other game modes here. Boss fight is, you get to do like a special boss battle 3 times a month. This is where you can farm currency for this too. This is where you can buy duplicates for Sabrina as well too. So it's like very easy to, you can either do what I did, which is get enough of these to buy her outright, that you don't have to worry about her in the gacha. And then all subsequent times you come in here every month and buy her, you get enough every 2 months. Essentially, you get a full upgrade for her, full limit break. Sorry, for her, which is nice. This is the military simulation, which is sort of like there's two PvPs. There's this one. So this one's like the actual like live PvP, like you're playing with somebody else, and then they take a turn, you take a turn. No auto. Expansion drills. This resets every month as well too. So it's like different like specialty battles you do. Obviously gets more difficult as you go forward. I've gotten to the boss fight at once, and the boss fight for this one is absolutely retarded hard. So I was not ready for it. Combat exercise is sort of like your typical gacha PvP. So like you'll click this. Once you've reached Master 1, which is the highest you can go, you basically only need to do it once per day. So you do this. A lot of people you'll always find guys who just kind of do like, they'll throw their single shittiest unit in PvP. And, you gotta appreciate it for that, because it makes my life easier, because I just want to farm PvC currency, bro. Not here for difficult player versus player challenges, which is why I haven't really played the other mode, but I'll probably dabble with that just because it does look pretty fun. And then we will just finish this off in one go, because Lukai is broken too, and we'll just fucking fry them, and then it's done. And then I will say this is one of those things you're obligated to do if you're farming currency for rolls, because this is where you get cubes. If you finish at Master 1 at the end of the month, you get about 2 rolls worth of cubes when it resets. At the end of the week, sorry. It's weekly, not monthly. And then Neural Survey. Completing these is a good thing, because there's a lot of upgrade currency tied into this as well too. And then you could also like redo battles for these, they call them transcription conductors. And at that chart we were looking at, like the where it had all the keys you could unlock and stuff like that. You need these to upgrade, and this is sort of like completing these are really the only way to kind of get like a very consistent supply of those. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck buying them in the event shops and then buying them in the what you would call it when you go to the public areas. You can buy them from there's a dispatch shop, and I'll have those for sale in there as well too. Actually, I didn't buy this week's dispatch stuff, so let's buy this. And we got enough for a 10 roll, baby. Let's go without spending currency. So we'll buy these as well too, because we need to upgrade dolls. And then curios is a new thing they added. It's just like, I'll show that quickly too. They added a lot of upgrades to like the Chinese dormitory, so it's similar to the how it was in Azur Lane, where you can kind of like customize things and walk around and stuff like that. But for the most part, and as I will show you, the dormitory now is mostly just like taking pictures of feet. And we'll explain that in a sec here. So, dormitory. Go in. There's an affinity level for every character. When you marry them, it normally caps out at 5. So like Sabrina, for example, if we go in, and you go gift, not outfit, sorry. You can change outfits in here too. So if you buy outfits, you can change them out of the basic one. But if you go gift, I can't give her anything else because her affinity levels are maxed out. And there's this little covenant tab up here. I'm not sure why, but there are a lot of characters, mostly the purple ones, which is understandable because those are the lower rarity of the two, that you can't do the covenant animation with and stuff like that as well too. But most of these characters you can. Anyone that's above level 5, or like Mekti here has this like little upgraded thing. They've been covenanted, they've been oathed, they've been married, whatever. And then you get like different voice lines. You get a little animation, which was deemed controversial to Redditors because implication is you're reprogramming them. But they're fucking robots, bro. These aren't human beings, so I can reprogram my robot to love me if I want. Fuck your ethics, okay? That's how we stand on this channel. And we'll talk about a little ethical dilemma I found with our next game when we get there as well, too. But I think it's kind of funny. But, yeah, you go in. Who's somebody? It's Uzawi, for the most part. As you can see, there's a lot of feet. A lot of feet in this game. One thing that I guess is pretty cool. I gotta find a character that has them. Maybe Centeresi. No, she doesn't have stockings. Damn it. Hold on. I gotta find one who has stockings on. Polo has stockings, I'm pretty sure. Yes. So, a lot of characters have stockings. This stocking, like the see-through stocking graphics, I guess. Like again, my brain's not working right now. I'm fucked. But that's proprietary. That's like they own the software that does that. So if you want to have like highly detailed stocking feet that look like this, you're gonna have to owe the guys who own. Hold on, we can actually, and then you can like zoom in on it and shit too. Yeah, they know what they were doing. God bless them for it, I guess. I'm not a big foot guy, but I'm not like a. I feel like there's normally two extremes. You're either like a degenerate foot fetishist, or you're like repulsed by feet. I am neither, because I don't really care. And then we'll do our 5. But yeah, see, you can like Zowi's one, you can covenant. It's like $5 for the ring. You get free ones every once in a while too. And then you get like certain characters, like who's one of the ones we oath, for example. Macchiato, let's see here. Let's see if it shows. But they had this little like ring above their hand. And you'll see that in game and during the animations and stuff like that too, because that is your privilege as a man who is married to robots and stuff like that too. So I think for the most part, that covers our daily requirements. Yep. and then some. So you claim that, get your 60 rolls, blah blah blah. Like I said, we'll do a recruitment is our little gacha here. So yeah, 3 days. So Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday. I was right. These are the 2 event ones here, or 4 event ones here. So there's a Klukai rerun. You can buy a gold gun that's specific to her. Same with the one that's exclusive to Yaoi. I don't usually roll on these. I did end up rolling on this one because she was useless otherwise. And then this is sort of your general recruitment pool. You can pick any of like the regular gold pool characters to kind of target, which is nice. And then you get a pity and 20 for this one. I think it's 70 is normally the pity, but we're rolling it anyway. So I've done this enough times to know that there's no gold in this. You can tell by the color of the lights as it was coming out of the tunnel, and then her pose. So this just means that, oh no, there's a gold. Okay, so we got the pity then, never mind. Normally, if it's a natural gold, so we got Sharkeries, not gold. We'll skip her. Oh, we got a gun out of it, okay. So we got a SMG. So we got a pity sorry, not SMG, sorry. Pity fucking LMG. And like I said, yeah, that resets your pity, so now it's back up to 75. Okay. Cool. So that's the gacha. I'll quickly go over events here. This is one that you get a bunch of free shit from every month. There'll just be random small events that run. Every gacha has those. This one you just get a bunch of gambling currency on. So it's about 1,500 for a 10 roll. So I am sitting at close to 240 rolls. So we're good there. And then there's a specific ticket you can get, which I have 8 of, for those event pools. This is the event that's going on here. They obviously promote the whatever skin is going on, whatever the new hotness skin is right now. You can go to the shop. You can buy skins. Ton of options. There are skins that are modular. I think this one, the Sashal Numerous one, is now. But you can like buy different like accessories for them, and you can actually change and customize how you want the skin to look, which is pretty cool. And they're doing that. This is an older skin even too, so they are doing that retroactively to certain skins, which is neat. And then like trading posts where you can kind of gather all of your different currencies. Glory Store is one that you get for kind of completing certain tasks. I'm trying to save up for the other vector skin here, which is this one, this Molotov Bunny. But they're gonna be adding in more of like what they call the classic skins, so ones that were skins in Girls Frontline 2 or Girls Frontline 1, sorry, and those are going to be tied into the Glory Store in the future. And I think they're going to make it probably easier to get currency for that for the most part. So that's Girls Frontline. Like I said, we're going to be kind of quick and dirty through these. Pretty straightforward game. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that either. There we go. I like it. I like playing. I've enjoyed it. I like that there's sort of a balance to, like, if you similar to Arknights, similar to even Nikkei in a way, where it's like you're not obligated to kind of go in and play and do a lot of the like your dailies. You can get them done in 20 minutes. Like boom, done, easy. Which is nice to have, right? Because like if it's like one of those things where it's like you are a daily player, you don't want like an entire day of energy invested into just like farming a roll or two every day. But again, like I said, there is a lot more that you can do. They keep adding game modes. There's some depth to like the actual story events too, and they'll always throw like dumb little mini games in and stuff like that as well too, which is nice to have. So I like that. So it's like if I'm bored on a Sunday afternoon, and I don't want to, right now maybe not, just because I am preoccupied with trying to finish Stellar Blades for my first playthrough, which we'll talk a little bit more of that momentarily. But you're not obligated to be investing a lot of time into it, whereas you can, or sorry, let me rephrase that. You can put as little or as much time into it as you want, because there's a lot of stuff for you to do. But it's not obligatory. So anyway, let me shut that down. And our last game is the newest game. We got our Oguri cap hat on here. We got our Musume. You can't really see him, but you know, I got the patches here. Got a little gold ship. N-word patch. It's not really good in the light, but whatever. Is Musume. So, what is Musume? It is a game that you can play right now that's been out in Japan for 4 years, and it is about anthropomorphic racehorses doing what they do best, which is racing. Now, this is a stereotype of people of Asian descent, but they like their gambling, and it's one of those things where it's a stereotype, sure, but like you can kind of go in and look at like the gambling industry and stuff like that, and gacha games and stuff like that, right? And you can kind of make that connection on your own. So Musume is insanely popular in Japan, and has been it's only been out for a few days, but it's already been a rip-roaring success on its global version, because one, it's a good game. You know, it's a fun game. They've dumped a lot of energy and resources into it. It's got a big multimedia franchise. It was supposed to have an anime that was supposed to launch concurrently with the game. It got delayed, but it's now on 3 seasons and a spin-off that I think just finished airing officially. So you have 4, and it's a very well done anime, which is hilarious too. You'll see jokes about like the race animations compared to something like Blue Lock, and the amount of resources put into it versus Blue Lock, which was best-selling manga of last year. So it's like, why did they cut so many corners on the anime version? Couple things about the game too that kind of go into is because of its association with gambling. One thing that you can make that point over here in the West as well too is that things that go hand in hand are gambling and organized crime. So it's sort of like an unspoken understanding that the Yakuza have like direct hands in this game, because the horses are based on current and historical racehorses that were very successful, and it's sort of like a known thing that it's very difficult or impossible even to find pornography of the characters, because people will go to these like they'll go to like Comic-Con and all these big doujin events, and guys will actively intimidate, like, who are suspected to be Yakuza enforcers will go to these events and actually intimidate the artists, and will contact them online and shit like that to make sure if they're making fan content, it's not pornographic fan content. It's not fan content that's like they deem to be inappropriate as far as like how it's portraying the characters and stuff like that, which is pretty hilarious. Oh, I'm gonna take this vid out here. This is in swap time, Dylan. New pillow. So the nicotine holds off the vomit, because I was not feeling good. Yeah. Oh, God. I had a little bit of greasy Chinese food too, and that's done a good job of staying down. But like, man, I was like lying to bed at 4 a.m. and I was like, oh God, I'm cooked. I didn't even mean to stay out last night. I was gonna go home after like we had a work bowling event. I was gonna go home after the bowling event, and people are like, hey, come to my house. We'll have a few drinks, have a few laughs, And then here I am, like, drinking a shit ton of vodka. And then next thing I know, it's like calling an Uber, and it's like, the sun's out already. It's like families on the street, and I'm like, oh no. And I'm an old man. So, well, let's collect our daily income. I'm going to move the camera, actually. Hold on a sec here. Just because it's formatted vertically like it is in the mobile games. This is the PC Steam client version of the game. This is our little main menu here. That's our Oguri cap, who is our current SSR that we have. There's 2 of them that we've unlocked, so we can go into our little pile here and look at our horses. So we got all of the 1-stars after a few rolls, and then we got our super rares. We got his TM Opera O, This is her like opera costume. I'll show that in a sec as well too. And then we got Oguri Cap here. And then the rest of these are all like 3 stars as well too. Opera O is the current banner character. I'll show that. I'm not rolling because I don't have enough currency to roll. One thing this game does get kind of flack for is that the gacha system is considered to be very I'm trying to use a word here that doesn't come across as an anti-Semitic slur, but it's very it doesn't, the game itself, we're obviously at the launch portion of the game or early on in the game, so like the carats, the little gems that you need to roll, are very plentiful and easy to get a hold of. But the game itself isn't really known for being generous, and you do have to pay a lot for the rolls and stuff like that. And that's where that's where they make side games and their noble friends in the Yakuza are that's where they make their money, and they make a fucking shit ton of money on this game. And I'm sure they will make even more now that it's global. So we'll do our free scout on here. So you do get to see the gacha system. Listen, man, you know what? Like, all the power to them. I know has an organization. You know, they've always been a part of like Japanese culture. You know, they got to make money where they got to make money. If they got to invest in MMA, right? I'm going to post tomorrow probably on the Instagram page a link to a documentary on Pride Fighting Championships, which has like one of the most like interesting stories as far as like Yakuza involvement in the organization and stuff like that. But like, yeah, they ain't making money off the games because it's just like, you know, parroting them. And it's one of those things where it's like, the Japanese government has always sort of like understood to the most part that like the Yakuza are a necessary evil in the world of like the Japanese Japanese society, I guess, right? But you're not, you know, you don't really hear too much about them anymore, right? Like there are organizations that are involved in a lot more of like the seedy gang style activities where, you know, they're like committing robberies or they're you know, selling heroin and drugs and stuff like that, right? Like they're one of the few sources of the drugs in Japan. But that's not really a thing that most of these families and these organizations do, right? Like there's other ways to make money through crime, and one of those is like getting involved in the gambling industry. You know what I mean? And that's always been a traditional thing that like the mafia has done and stuff like that as well too, right? Like obviously, like you see that a lot in crime films, like, you know, the Scorsese style things. And I understand that that's fiction, and it does try to kind of like paint these guys in a very mythological light, sort of, right? But like that shit does happen, right? And there's some sort of like even like a Dragon as a franchise isn't really based like there's a reality there that it's based on, and obviously they sensationalize it, right? So there's like some truth to it, there's some falsehoods to it, whatever. Anyways, back to the game. So we're not gonna play it because I want to go lie down. But there is a career mode, and the career mode is sort of the bread and butter of this game because it's very much similar to like a Princess Connect, where you pick a character you really like. Oguri Cap is the current object of my desire, so just quote unquote, because a lot of the characters, like Twin Turbo's not in the game yet. A lot of these other characters I enjoy. Game's been out for 4 years in Japan, so there's like a lot of characters that I'm interested in, that are down the pipeline, you know, so then I can also just save currency and wait, you know, not have to roll on every fucking banner that comes like I do in Nikkei, every other game basically that I play. Except for Arknight. Sometimes I skip banners on that, but whatever. Yeah. So career event is you're training your character. You get like each character has their own set of challenges that are kind of either based on like the actual history of the horse. So like certain rivalries they had with different horses and shit like that during their specific era of being a highly successful racing horse in Japan. And then certain horses and stuff like that too. Like if we go into trainees and we look at them, like if you click on Oguri Cap here, Obviously, she has different stats. You can kind of upgrade those. You upgrade those as you go. Excuse me, go along in the story. But your base stats are often determined by like the abilities you pick up during career, upgrading, like max limit breaking, upgrading the character beforehand, and that makes sort of your like I've gotten the farthest through the story mode I've had with Oguri Cap, and that is, I think, completing 5 out of 9 goals. Otherwise, you kind of like hit a wall, and then you get your skills, your upgrades, restart the story, and then you kind of have a better chance going forward and stuff like that, right? So it's like you're not expected to like complete a career on your first couple tries, because it's even if you're like min-maxing and optimizing and like getting really autistic about it. Let's be honest here. So there's kind of key factors to figure out here is like horses specialize on certain track types. So dirt versus turf. Distance, there's different races that are distance wise. So Oguri Cap here is better at mile long and medium races, which I think are 2,400 meters. And then she's like okay at long races, but you're skipping sprints. The game's not going to recommend you sprints during the story mode. And then your style is sort of dependent on when you try to dominate the race. So like front is that character obviously tries to get like an early lead and keep it. Pace is you kind of wait towards the middle of the race, and then as you're approaching the final turn, that's when you make your move. That's when your like abilities start to come into play, like guts and stamina. So like my understanding of the abilities, because the game doesn't explain it particularly well, is speed is an obvious one. Stamina is an obvious one. Power, guts, and wit are more... Power and guts are more factored into your character breaking out of a pack. So, like, we'll do a race, and you'll notice how, like, characters will clump up kind of in the middle of the pack and stuff like that, especially if they're doing pace and late. And then as you kind of round that final turn, you're going to try to want to break out of that pack. And then get in front and stuff like that. And then wit, I think, also plays a factor in that as well too. So depending on if you're like a shorter track or a longer track specialist, you want to kind of like focus on upgrading certain skills that are more keen to that, especially in late game. I haven't done a good job. I found what I've been told is like the definitive guide to playing this game, but I haven't really gone into great detail in reading it yet. Mainly because I was being a drunk idiot yesterday. So that's my fault, if anything. And then, like I said, they're all real horses. All of them are very exaggerated anime tropes, which are kind of funny. I do enjoy it. So, like, this is Gold Ship. Gold Ship is retarded and a chuny, which is kind of funny. And then Oguri Cap is sort of like a soft-spoken, gluttonous... like she's a hick, like she's from like the country, and she likes to eat. So much like me, I am from the country and I like to eat. I am, however, not a soft-spoken man. So she is literally she's literally me, but like 2/3 me, kind of that, right? So we'll do that. But anyways, we will do races, because one of the things you have to do is you have to complete daily races, and then there's like team races too, but those don't actually show the race animation. So we'll do a daily race. We'll do the mile-long race here, because we'll do it with a couple horses here. We'll do an Oguri Cap one, and then you can see there's multiples. This is sort of like your stats at the end of a success, like when you completed a career, whether you crashed out, whether you completed, actually like won the career, I guess, and then like the stats will carry over, and you can use these to inspire your horse during a career as well too, and stuff like that, which is pretty neat. So we'll do our best Oguri Cap here, who is almost 3,100 points. And then there's a lot of things that factor into this as well too. So your mood, things as far as mood, and as where your position and where you start on the track. So like what gate you're in and stuff like that as well too. So we're going to dominate this no matter what. You can change your strategy, like I was saying. You can be a pace chaser. You can be late. We'll do late for this one just because there's less people. You can see how many horses already have that strategy. And like I said, she's a mile specialist, and this is a mile race, so we will do that. And then you can see the excitement of watching a horse race. Now, horse racing is actually kind of fun. I do like, I do work near a horse race track, which is pretty cool. So I will eventually be going to some of those during probably next month at some point. I'll probably go on like a Friday night and not stream. Because I'm lazy. Fucking hands hurt so much. I go bowling like once every year and a half, and every time like I just strain my wrist so hard. We'll just play through the animation for the first time, just because it talks about the favorites and stuff like that. And then, because we have like the SSR version of her, she has her little costume on. We're starting on the inside of the gate, so she has an ability that if you start near the middle and the outer posts, you get a bonus. So, yeah. Yeah. And like I said, you can see at the top where the kind of like everyone groups up and stuff like that as well too. And then, like I said, we picked late, so it won't be probably until, well, now she's making a move anyway, but it won't be probably until like the end of the race that she does make a real shot for first place. And she has a special ability, whereas that if she's got it during the final post, which you'll see, it'll probably launch around here. She'll activate a special ability, and then she'll basically just like run for the lead. But if she's in the first right now, I don't know if it's going to activate, but yeah. We'll do the more difficult race next and see if we can win that. Too easy. Yeah, so that post you saw there at the side, that's when the ability would have activated. So every character has their own special ability, and it does tie into. So we dominated that. We dominated it. We'll skip. Get a little animation. And then in the career mode, there'll be a little prompt at the bottom here. Sometimes it won't even prompt you, but if you win certain races, there will be like an animation at the end where they do like a little idle dance. And if you've seen any of like the kind of like the marketing and some of the stories I have and stuff like that, there's like tons of them. You can rewatch them in the archive here, or one of them. This is the Steam version of it, yeah. So it's still it's because the game is vertical. It at its core is a phone game. So like normally you would have to jump between these two menus, and then this is like the third menu at the sidebar here. So really all they've done is they've sort of just like stuck everything on the screen at once, and then you have that option of when it does the race, it does it'll switch to like the horizontal view, and then you can watch the race in like the full ratio aspect, or what do you want to fucking call it? I don't know. Words are just coming out of my mouth at this point. And you can do your dailies. I got to do a career race at one point to finish that, but like I said, we're not going to worry about that right now. But yeah, like you can skip a lot of the story stuff in the career, which is kind of cool. Like it'll auto do that. There is a story event going on right now. It's not a separate race in the story. It's sort of you got to do career, but you have to use certain characters. So like this is special week here. So if you use special week, you get more currency. You get these things too. Another big part of the game is what they call support cards, and support cards have their own gacha as well too. And support cards are like there's different characters that have support cards, and these are characters that when you equip the support cards, they will show up as events in the game, and you also get like certain boosts and stuff like that too. So like you'll have like friendships with these characters, And how the friendship aspect works is that when you cap out your friendship, and you train with those specific characters, you get boost to your stats and stuff like that as well too. Hint levels are how you unlock skills, and then specialty priority is just like how often they'll show up in certain training sessions and stuff like that as well too. And then you can limit break certain. Hold on, where is it here? There's a card here, for example, like this. I got to look for the horseshoe. Like this Sweep Tosho one, because we've gotten so many of them. You can uncap it, and then you can increase the level of the card as well too, and that means that like you get more base stats at the beginning, and then there's obviously more value to the card when it shows up in your career. So that's pretty much the bread and butter of the game. Like I said, is tied to the career mode. We did get some event currency, so there's this little like wheel you can spin, so we'll spin that for shits and gigs. So get some shoes. These are for upgrading your base level of your character as well too. So there's like leveling it up with equipment, and then there's limit breaking the character. Limit breaking it's a little bit more greedy when it comes to that in this game, because if you let's go to enhance. Because I've rolled a duplicate, for example, for Oguri Cap, but I still don't have enough of the star pieces that you get, which are like the currency for the duplicates. And you'll see that like the same thing with like if you look at like Girls Frontline and stuff like that as well too, right? Like it was like, oh yeah, you gotta have a certain number of these fortification stars to upgrade a character and stuff like that, right? Like we showed that. Like that's coming from the gacha itself and stuff like that as well too. And then you get like other currencies, right? Like these statues, for example, they call them. You get one of those for every dupe you roll, and you can exchange that for the star. So in theory, I can buy 25 additional stars right now, but max is 25. Sorry, because I guess it goes up as you. Yeah, it gets more expensive as you buy more. Okay, but yeah, so it's like having like a fully optimized, maxed out character. You're reliant on the gacha, and like I said, the gacha, it's not real. It's very it wants you to spend money, and that's sort of like kind of the downside of the game. Now that being said, it is entirely possible to have a successful career with a character and multiple characters and stuff like that, without spending any money at all, right? Which is nice because you can, you do get free currency every once in a while, and like I said, this isn't really a game. At least how I'm treating it, where I need all of the characters, kind of like that, right? It's going to be one of those things where it's just like, find a horse you like, and then either like save up for when she inevitably comes out, or if she's already available, there's like alternate costumes and stuff like that. Like they do have like Halloween versions and stuff like that. Like there's a whole list, you can see what's available in the Japanese version already. And like I said, 4 years worth of content. We are going to get a very streamlined version of that here, just so we can play catch up. It'll be a long time before it actually catches up, and I don't think that's sort of the intention, but like to get a lot of that content that people who are at least somewhat knowledgeable about the franchise, and then seeing characters in the show and stuff like that, because obviously they're going to be making more seasons of the show and more spin-offs. People are going to want those characters, and then they're going to have to make them available sooner and whatnot, things like that, right? So for the most part, that is like the bread and butter of Musume. I've had fun with it so far. I haven't put like a ton of time into it, but I enjoy it. I've had a lot of fun with it. I will be putting more time into it. It's like normally for me, like I can juggle 3 and 4 of these gacha games, these mobile games at a time, and I don't think I'll have a problem adding this into the rotation. I haven't so far. It hasn't taken a lot of my time, and like I said, I'm playing this plus Azur Lane plus Girls Frontline 2 plus Nikkei plus Arknights, and those are all games that like I enjoy them for their own merits, and I do like same thing too, like things like Arknights, Girls Frontline, Nikkei, especially like Arknights and Nikkei, in my opinion, they're games that have like really engaging stories and stuff like that. So it's like the pull of the game yes, the Steam reviews are super positive. Yeah, like for the most part, like people, this was a game that like I waited a couple there was a hint a couple of years ago that there was a global version coming, and then they announced the global version coming, but that was still a year before the game came out. So it was like, fuck, man, like yeah, we waited a long time for this, and like I said, it's a beyond the game, it's a massive franchise. And like I said, like the anime is actually really good, not just visually, but like it's a cute little story to go along with it as well too, right? And it's like it is based, like I said, they tried to kind of like keep the lore kind of like they basically took like the racing history of certain horses with the rivalries of different horses and owners and stuff like that, and made it into this like a dramatized story where there's a universe where there's girls that have horse ears and tails and like to run really fast and stuff like that. And one thing I'm waiting for, and it's one thing I've kind of noticed, is that on the little intro to the game, it implies that there's like the horses have their own like a trinity of goddesses that kind of exist in universe, but like all the horses do is race. So it's like their sole existence is tied into being like a horse girl that can run around in the circle. They don't have like careers. They're almost like a second class citizen. And like that's overthinking this, because like I said, this is a game that's designed to be like this in every way possible. It's designed to separate Japanese men from money in their wallets. You know what I mean? It's designed to empty bank accounts because it's got horse racing. It's a gacha game. It's cute anime girls. You know what I mean? Like that's as deep as they thought about this game. Let's be fucking real here. But they were like talking, I'm waiting for some Reddit post about how it's like they're like a second class citizen and it's unethical and they're essentially slaves that run the race. But they like racing, dog. That's what they're built for. It's a video game. Get over it. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for that post to happen. But other than that, yeah, no, it's a fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. So we were supposed to have 2 streams today. Like I said, this is supposed to be the 3:30 stream. I'm still too hungover to exist. That's why we didn't do it at 3:30. That's why we did it now. So that means that we push the horror stream till Friday. I haven't figured out what we're doing on Saturday yet, but one thing I was thinking about, and we're getting very close to getting to that point, is I was trying to finish my first playthrough of Stellar Blade. Right now I'm just kind of like collectible hunting and trying to like complete the playthrough before I worry about any of the other stuff. So I'm thinking that Saturday will be a Stellar Blade stream, and we'll start the second playthrough on that. Really, that's all it adds to you're not missing. If you haven't played Stellar Blade, the only thing you're going to be missing is just like me arbitrarily hunting for collectibles, because that time around we can sort of just like get duplicate upgraded versions of the skins and the suits, as they call them in game, and just kind of focusing more on the story stuff. So it's kind of it's gonna be more of like a streamlined playthrough, as opposed to if I did it from the start. And I didn't, I sunk a lot of time into the game already, so I feel like it would be kind of stupid to start a game halfway in a stream. So I figure we'll get to that second playthrough, and then we will do Stellar Blade stream, and it'll be fun, because I enjoy that game a lot, and it runs really well on high graphics, even on this fucking laptop, which is awesome. And it's incredible game. Right now, it's sort of we're at the tail end of a crossover with Nikkei, because it's the same developer that made both of those. And if you're familiar with Nikkei, then you will know that you'll see a lot of kind of allusions to each other outside of even the direct stuff. Like there are like unlockables and boss battles and stuff like that carried over from those games, which is cool. And that's a game that was also came out this month and was also highly, highly successful, because they sold, I think, officially 3 million copies of the game now. And if it wasn't technically a game that came out last year, it would be, I would say it would be it'd be very tough for me to choose between that and Expedition 33 as the best game to come out this year. And Expedition 33 is a incredible game as well too. Play that as well, especially if you like old school RPGs or you like really well written stories. and or you like Charlie Cox because he's in it, even though he clearly feels like a fraud for everyone praising his work, because apparently he just kind of showed up, didn't know what he was doing, did his voice lines, and fucked off. But you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know by that. So that's probably the plan for next week. I'll know what's happening Saturday, closer to Saturday. But Friday is going to be a horror game stream. We're going to play White Knuckle until I get frustrated. And then we're going to play Look Outside, which I've heard is an incredible game as well, too. Both of those games have had big content updates as well, too. So it would be a good time to kind of jump into those. So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you. Anyways, have a great night. And we'll see you guys next Friday for the stream that was supposed to be now. Take it easy.